Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and this video was made possible thanks to the EA Creator Network. It is also tagged as ad gifted, as I did receive early access for Enchanted by Nature so that I could check it out early, get these videos up so you all know what to expect when it drops, and you can make an informed decision on your Sims packs pick a mix. In this video, we are going to be going over Create a Sim. I'm going to have my gameplay video up tomorrow. They, of course, always do take a little bit longer, and I know that a lot of you look forward to seeing what is coming brand new to Create a Sim. We are going to kick it off, of course, with the 3 new aspirations. So one of these is fully focused on fairies. It is underneath its own new aspiration category called Fairy, and it is Fairy Stories. This sim wants to show the world what kind of fairy they can be, and this is actually split into kind of 3 different aspirations. So you have this starter one, and then once you've completed that, you can choose to be either a discordant fairy or a harmonious fairy, which we will get into. But the bonus trait for this new category is Fairy Influence. These sims seem to leave a big impact. Relationship fluctuations are bigger when socializing with fairy sims and gnomes, for better or worse. I did notice that my fairies relationships were very tumultuous, I have to say. It felt like harder to make friends as a fairy, and now I'm thinking, is it because of this? I did cheat a couple of my relationships whilst recording my gameplay videos, I'm not gonna lie. So for this introductory one, you have obviously the regular ones like Become a Fairy, which is gonna be in my gameplay overview. Obviously you can just become a fairy and create a sim. You can create a fairy from the very start, or there is also a little bit of gameplay that you can get if you want to turn a human into a fairy. Throw fairy dance parties, befriend fairies, reach a certain level of the fairy skill. I think it may be the 3rd level of becoming a fairy, which is glimmering. Use fairy dust to enchant items and visit the fairy hub and use it 3 times over. Once you've completed that, like I said, you can choose the discordant fairy path, which is kind of your mischievous one, I guess you could say. Kind of the more negative powers and effects is what you are going to choose to focus on. Use the cure or apply ailment fairy ability to inflict ailments on 3 sims. Shift the look of 3 sims. That can be for good or for bad. Manipulate 3 objects. Manipulation can cause breakages. You can also clean and fix them. Trigger fear of magic on a sim, which is done basically by doing negative powers on a sim. Eventually it will trigger the fear of magic, which I think also affects like spellcasters. And then the other fairy path is harmonious. You can cure sims ailments 3 times, use growth eruption 3 times, and use the nurture nature fairy ability 3 times over. So you're definitely more helpful, more in touch with the earth if you choose to go down the harmonious path. Next we have the elixir enthusiast. This sim wants to learn everything there is to know about the apothecary skill and craft powerful cures and elixirs from plant-based ingredients. So this is mainly focused, of course, on getting up your apothecary skill and also focusing on the new career. Craft 2 items at the apothecary table, reach level 2 of the naturopath career, bottle 3 emotions with the emotion stone, earn 600 simoleons by selling items crafted at an apothecary table. And then for the last step, you have to reach level 10 of the career and also craft holistic cure, which is unlocked at level 10 of the apothecary skill. Finally, when it comes to aspirations, we have nature nomad. This sim embraces natural living, enjoys fulfilling their every need in the great outdoors. As you can probably tell, it does what it says on the tin. It kind of walks you through the natural living skill. not as explorative, I think, of the surroundings as I was expecting it to be. I was kind of expecting it to be a walkthrough of like the new world, but it's more so you can do this in like any world you choose to live in. You just have to catch a fish, harvest plants, forage for food 5 times over, sleep soundly outdoors on the ground 3 times, which I think sleeping soundly and comfortably on just like the regular floor maybe unlocks at like level 5 or 6. Obviously, talk to nature when you're level 9 or higher, and comfortably bathe in open water 3 times. That's definitely the easiest. To go along with those aspirations, we have 3 new traits. Disruptive Sims are driven to interact with the world by messing with it, can spread interpersonal chaos by giving bad balance advice, or stick it to nature by disrupting plants. Disruptive Sims build mischief skill faster, but are slower to regain balance than most Sims. Obviously, I'll be talking about a lot of these systems in my gameplay overview. It was like slightly slower as a disruptive Sim, but to be completely honest, my balance didn't really become unbalanced all that often, so that definitely I didn't see as much as I would have liked to. Disrupting plants basically means that you can bring bugs to them, weeds, then we have magical, mystical. Feeling a strong affinity for both the natural and supernatural, mystical Sims see higher purpose in living harmoniously in each world and sharing that with other Sims. These Sims learn apothecary and gardening skills faster, have an easier time building friendships with a cult. Mystical Sims can grant a sacred blessing to other Sims, which increases balance for both Sims if accepted. I, again, didn't even know that it did that, because it was really hard to see like the balance being affected when my Sims were feeling balanced pretty much the entire time, apart from when they had an ailment. I do like that you can read a Sim's aura as a mystical Sim. That is quite fun. You basically give them a color and like how it relates to them. I don't know if that's maybe based off their emotions or if it is actually based off traits. I really didn't do like any scientific experiments to figure that out, but they get a cute little notification if your aura is red and being like, hey, this is how I see you. And I think that's cute, especially for those of you who maybe like the tarot from Life and Death. And then finally, we have plant lovers. Treat each and every plant like the little Sim they are. Being a friend to plants is not always easy on plant lovers' emotions, but luckily these Sims don't need any skill to share their special interest, just a big heart. So they can give like unsolicited plant advice care, and that actually comes up with a notification of people reacting to it like, oh, I didn't know plants could do that. That's quite cool. Thank you for your knowledge. Plants are the Sims' special interest. You can also name plants. I think that might be exclusive to being a plant lover, but don't quote me on that. All in all, I do think that mystical is probably my favorite just because of the aura, but these aren't the strongest traits. I really wanted disruptive to be a little bit more fun. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit maybe more like rebellious that we had in The Sims 3. It just didn't really feel like those disruptive Sims were causing as much mayhem as I would have liked. But then again, do I really want them running around being disruptive like the customers that we have in businesses and hobbies, because they are super loud? So no, but I just think a couple more interactions would have made that trait more fun. Also, warning on plant lovers, they will whip a massive plant out of their pocket at any given opportunity. It's a very, very annoying animation, and it happens far too frequently. The 2 new skills are also a hobby like and dislike, so you can like or dislike apothecary and natural living. Moving on to the girlies, all the feminine assets. Here I do show off 2 new teeth. I'm not 100% sure if humans can actually have those, but I know that they are available for fairies. I'm gonna focus on kind of the like human side that we're used to seeing first, and then we'll move on on to fairies. So feminine Sims actually get 9 hairstyles. One of them has been included for Mother Nature. You can put it on your Sims. However, you can't put it on Plant Sims. You still can't change Plant Sims hair, which is a little bit of a missed opportunity for me. Kind of wish that they had changed that. And then 2 of these are also like repeats, but they have hair tinsel in them. So there is a little bit of like a streak running through with the glitter. The leafy one, unfortunately, doesn't come in like a regular swatch, which I was desperately hoping that it would. Selfishly, I would just get way more use out of that hairstyle if it didn't always have the leaves. I feel like they give us a second version of the hairs, or a second version that I'm not really going to use. Like, I love the hairs and I think they're actually pretty cool. I really like this one with like the kind of thinning or like thin hair. Definitely don't feel like we have a lot of that. It's also kind of a wet look, which I mean, natural living, you're swimming in water. I think that they need to play around with hairlines more, so I am a fan of that. I would also love to see like more balding hairstyles and kind of like receding hairlines. Then we also got 7 new hats, hair accessories. These aren't actually tied to the hairs, so you can put these on any hairs, which is quite nice for the flower crowns. Also, humans can have both of the sets of horns, so the horns on the forehead and the more so antler type head accessories. Hopefully they have disabled those for random. We got 7 accessories, 3 earrings, one's a little 4-leaf clover that actually has the possibility to only be on one ear. I wish they did that more for earrings so that you could choose which ear you wanted it on. 1 set of glasses, which is actually the mask that you saw, and then 3 necklaces, 4 pieces of makeup. One of them is this new eyeshadow with the leaves, which everything is a little bit dramatic, but I kind of understand why they did that. They really pushed the boundaries when it came to fairies. Like I'm showing right now, we have 3 different face paints, which feel very, very reminiscent of The Sims 2. And on all of these, you can play around with the colors, so you can get some really cool looks going on. I do feel like sometimes I would use those more if they just focused on like the smaller pieces in the middle and just gave us versions with just those rather than it being the whole face. Thankfully, 16 new tattoos. This might actually beat out businesses and hobbies for the amount of tattoos that we got, which is a wild, outlandish thing to say, considering tattooing was literally a new hobby in that pack. I haven't really split these up into like all the different sections where you can get tattoos, but most of them are like these fronds, I guess, like kind of vines that you can wrap around the body. I love the little froggy with the fairy wings. This is kind of if you want like vines on your fairy. Again, you can't customize your plant sims, really. I don't know about tattoos, though. I didn't actually test that. I know you can't change the hairstyle. And we also got a face tattoo, which I actually really, really like that face tattoo. I think I'm actually gonna use it a fair amount. I use the one that runs through the hair that came with businesses and hobbies a lot, and face tattoo is up there for me. So thank you, Sims team. Moving on to the tops, we got 5 new tops for feminine Sims. This like fisherman jumper, this frilly little number. I will say The Sims is giving Sims 3 in this creator sim. Like the glitter that was used, this mesh top, I know some people are over the mesh tops, but I actually really, really like this one. It is kind of giving high school years a little bit, but I do use them a lot. And then you have your more natural leaves, obviously, that you can use on fairies, which A lot of these are to do with fairies. I don't feel like you can fit all of these onto regular Sims unless you maybe are working on the natural living skill, or you're doing some type of challenge where they have to live off the land and they've like ripped leaves off bushes and use them to cover their modesty. However, there are still some nice pieces. I, for one, really love that asymmetric skirt. We got 6 bottoms for feminine Sims. The trousers aren't really doing anything too special. I don't mind the kind of, it's not screen printed, but I can't remember the term that they used with like putting the leaves onto the denim. But at least they're doing something a little bit different, whereas the others are just kind of rolled up chinos. And then we got 11 full body outfits, which again, half of these I guess are kind of more your like fairy type stuff. You can't really get away with using them on regular Sims, but then you have the more like toned down everyday type wear, and I do actually feel like they struck a pretty good balance. There is obviously a lot of like floral and a lot of leafage design, so if that's not really your thing, I definitely don't see this creator sim being for you, because they do use it an awful lot. And on top of that, it feels like a lot of outfits that you could wear for gardening. If you're not into like natural living, I don't in general think this pack is really gonna be for you. This Mother Nature dress is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I probably won't really use it outside of fairies, but I do appreciate that they really put their whole ussy into that. And then there are 5 accessories, 1 bracelet, which is an armlet, I guess. It's all the way up the arm of a sim on their bicep, which is like a wraparound vine. 2 pairs of gloves, 1 more for your like potions makers, I guess, or just living outside and you don't want your hands to be freezing, and then more like ripped fairy gloves. 1 set of tights, which again are kind of the ripped. It feels like a little bit dress up, I will say. Love the socks, love the frilly little floral moment that we have. These may be, I fear, my go-to socks from now on. I need more socks in my game, and I like that they're playing around with it. And then we also got a new accessory, I guess, for the body, and this is called Skin Effect. It can basically make your Sims look shiny. You know how sometimes you have that glitch where like some CC clothes will look like they're on a mannequin and go really plasticky? You now have that for your Sims. I'm not gonna even suggest what people may use that for or what mod it reminds me of, but I guess it is quite good if maybe you want to play around with like the glossiness of a sim. Perhaps if you want them looking wet is how I'll describe it, then now you can. Now's your time to shine. I do think it's going to be quite good maybe for those of us who like to add a little bit of realism, a little bit of sweat, a little bit of grime if Sims are living outside, working outside, or maybe have been for some exercise, is how I'm gonna phrase it. Extracurricular activities. And finally, a small little update. Don't actually know if this came in the base game update. I have a confession, haven't actually played my regular game since that update came out, so I haven't checked this in Create Sim, but we did get some recolors for the eyelashes, so I'm fairly sure those are to maybe match the new skin tones, maybe also look like makeup, and that's obviously not only for feminine Sims. In total, without the tattoos, because everyone gets the tattoos, that is 58 new items for feminine Sims. Now for the masculine Sims, be prepared for this is the same that we saw in the feminine, because there is definitely a fair bit of overlap. I will say I like the hairstyles, but I do think they all feel maybe a little bit too similar to one another. I really like the modern mullet, but I could have lived with just like one of these short hairs and I would have chosen the modern mullet over the other two, especially because that is a variant with like fairy wings clipped into it. So not too much variety in the 8 different hairstyles that we got. 2 different facial hairs, unfortunately. Again, They didn't make a second variant of the flower beard, so you are just stuck with that beard that has flowers in. I would have much preferred it if they got rid of those flowers and just added a third, like, beard into the category. And then you kind of have those tufts, which are definitely giving Mr. Tumness. They have all the same head accessories as the feminine Sims, all the same accessories, 7 accessories. I do still really like the fact that you can kind of, I guess, just have one ear pierced, and again, I'm going to reiterate, wish they did that for more earrings. You love to see it. They had 3 earrings, the mask, and the 3 necklaces. I didn't include it, but they also had the face paint, the full face makeup that the feminine Sims had. Moving on to their outfits, 14 tops actually for the masculine Sims. Again, there is some crossover, so the frilly crop top is available for both. There's some inspiration from the location this pack was based on, so there is actually a Celtic iconography on the back of the hoodie. I think the like squiggly are ISO lines, but they might not be. It might be something else. It might be to do with like the patterns of wood. I like that they are finally feeling like they're playing around with silhouettes a little bit. Yes, it is kind of giving Rash Fest, and I would definitely prefer it to be a little bit boxier, but I give it an A for effort because at least it's trying something different. It's like they've just discovered that you can play around with necklines on t-shirts, and I am very much here for it. The patterns are pretty bold, even I guess in your more civilian outfits for the masculine Sims, so I really don't think this is going to be for everyone. I do think this may be one of the most divisive creator Sims. I have a feeling that like half of the Simmers are gonna absolutely love it and like eat it up, and then the other half are gonna just be like, what the heck is this? Trousers, in my opinion, all feel really, really samey to what we already have. They had 6 different bottoms, and I'm really not seeing much of a difference, even between like Batu. I do like it when they kind of add pouches or like realistic pockets to stuff. However, I do just feel like all of those silhouettes just seem so similar to what we already have. And unfortunately, they only got 3 outfits. 2 of them aren't even really that usable because 2 of them are like full-blown fairy outfits. The only one that really exists for civilian wear is the dungarees, which I appreciate a slutty pair of dungarees. Thank you. Thank you for not putting like a vest top or like a crop t-shirt, although crop t-shirt would have hit. They got 5 accessories, all the same accessories as feminine Sims, and then 4 different shoes, which I know you're not going to want to hear this, but the little hoofs, the hooves that we have seen, they are just in fact shoes. They're not actually like a characteristic of your Sim. They're like the Batu aliens. We have been deceived. The wool has been pulled over our eyes, and they only go up to like mid-calf, which personally I would like them to go a little bit higher. It does mean that you're probably gonna have to play around with like swimwear and stuff if you want the realism that your Sim is a fawn or has those hooves. I mean, they could have really just given us the tabbies as well. Now actually a little bit sad that we don't have the leather hoofs. It's fairy time. This works like other occults in The Sims 4. You can just choose now to create a fairy at any time. If you've created a human Sim that you really, really like and you're like, actually they would fit better with being a fairy, you can change it. You can link their forms so that your fairy form, any changes you make is linked to your human form. With a little caveat that I actually noticed, it does feel like there's either a glitch right now or they just don't want like human noses to be as accentuated as fairy noses, but we did actually get 3 new nose presets. If you choose those in your fairy form, when you go into your human form, it can change the nose, which I personally find a little bit annoying. If that is a glitch, I hope it's fixed soon. If it's by design, I also hope it's fixed. But there's actually 26 wings, 27 if you class not having wings also as an option. option. And these wings pretty much work like werewolf fur. So across the top of whatever wings you choose, they all kind of have like 3 or 4 different color options. Then you can change the paint just by picking a swatch and changing the way a wing looks that way, or you can go into wing paint mode, which you can freely stamp on your wings, you can draw freely on them. Artists, I know, are gonna go absolutely ham with this feature. We've seen it with cats and dogs, werewolves, tattoos. I really do think that people are gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of the wings, and I have to say, I think the wings are personally one of my favorite features of this whole pack. I think the team did an bloody cracking job of making these wings look realistic. The choices of them are really cool. You kind of have ones that look more like dragons, and then you have moth-like ones, butterfly ones, bumblebee wings, and I also just think the pose, like whilst they're waiting for their wings to be painted, is really cute. It's like they're so excited to finally have their own set of wings. Thankfully, they do have the symmetry tool for wings. Don't ask me why they couldn't include that for tattoos. I would have liked a new tool where what you put on the front also went onto the back of the wing, because it's going to be so annoying to try and line those up. If you do actually become a fairy in the game, you do get a little notification that's like, Mother Nature has chosen the wings that like suit you best. I don't know if that's actually based off anything. I think it is just like fully randomized, but obviously you can hop into Create Sim and change those wings at any moment. You spawn in as your human form, and then you can actually show your fairy form. That's when your wings will be on show. That means that you can fly, but you can also disable flying if you just want to walk around normally but still have your wings out. And of course, there is an option even in your fairy form to just not have wings at all. One thing that I personally think is missing is flying styles. I did notice a couple of fairies around the world kind of stuck their hands out as they were flying. My fairies didn't do that. I don't know if it depends on a trait. I tried to change their walk style and it didn't have any effect on the way that they flew. Of course, pregnant Sims do have a cute little animation where they put their hand on their tummy as they're flying. Whilst you are in your fairy form, there are actually a few new skin tones. There are 27 skin tones to choose from in total, but I think 9 of them already existed for like other occults. So I guess you maybe get like an extra 18. These can be changed with sliders. You can change kind of the hue, the tone of the color. Some of them are really similar to like the blue that we already had. And whilst these are only available on your fairy form, if you link both your fairy form and your human form, if you then go to your fairy form to edit your skin tone, you can then go back to your human form, delete your fairy form, and your human will stay with that color intact. They haven't made it accessible through humans, which I personally wish that they did. I wish they just like disabled it for random, but there's now an awful lot of like skin tone CC that I can remove from my game, because I used to have ones that made my Sims super colorful. And then there are also 3 new ear choices, which are obviously pointy elf-like fairy ears, and these are available to both humans and fairies, along with 18 new eyes. So they have actually again opened these eyes up for human Sims, so whether you're in your fairy form or you're in your human form, you'll be able to choose from these 18 new colors of eyes. Some of them have like funky patterns. There's one with like a flower power moment in it. I think they did actually say that they may have opened up some other occult eyes to humans, so definitely check that out in your game once this pack comes out. Again, that might already be in the base game update, so you might already have that option. The eyes are fine. I mean, there are actually some colors that look better than the defaults now, in my opinion. And then we did also get 6 new face presets to choose from. Some of these include the new noses. There are 6 for your fairy form, and then there are also 6 which are more human that have like more regular skin tones. This is where I noticed that the nose kind of shifts between fairy form and human form, but again, I kind of wish that that didn't happen. I don't like when the game tries to override a choice that I have made. You have obviously more of a fawn-like snout, I guess. Then you have a bigger nose, which I absolutely love. We've needed more nose presets for so long, just like more presets in general. When the Sims team do presets, they do them really, really well, which isn't surprising. It's their game. Like, they can really push it. They can add like a lot of shading, a lot of shadowing, and I think chins and jaws specifically, because they haven't ever really been looked at, whereas noses and eyes have been looked at a little bit more. But I'm never gonna say no to more presets. Sims team, if that's something you want to do, I am absolutely here to be your biggest cheerleader. For those of you who have been waiting for the younger Sims, I hope you're not getting your hopes as high as those floating eyeballs. It is currently a glitch. When you use some of the new eyes on kids and infants and toddlers, they do float above their head. So hopefully that can either be fixed before general release or fixed very, very soon after, because that is a bloody horrific glitch to have. I don't want to see their eyeballs actually out of their eyeball sockets. So children get 11 new hairstyles. Nothing individual to children. They just get all the same as the adults. Probably not even all the same. I don't think they have every single one that the adults have, but correct me if I'm wrong. Usually on kids, I just like get rid of feminine and masculine because I'm just like, it looks the same on all of the kids and is just completely unnecessary. They do have the tinsel, which is quite fun. I feel like that's quite cute. They get one set of like the full face makeup, so it can kind of look like they've done a little bit of face painting. I actually am now realizing I didn't include the stickers for children, but I don't know where they are, like on the arms that we've seen. But anyway, I will find them. They get 3 different tops. I'm just not really feeling the tops, I have to say. I mean, I guess some of these are quite cute if you do have like a baby fairy. They also get the shirt that masculine Sims got, which, I mean, just has like mushrooms or buttholes, whichever you want to see. I do like the fake fairy wings because unfortunately fairies, even if you have a fairy child, they don't act any differently to regular kids until they are a teenager. They don't have wings, they don't have different needs. Toddlers can go through a couple of emotions. They can actually feel like moods more so. And then we did get a pair of little glittery jelly shoes, which as a 90s kid, I do approve. Children can actually also have the plant lover trait. That is the only new trait that is available to them. Toddlers, again, they get all the eyes, but they are still suffering with that glitch of them floating above their heads. Only 2 new hairstyles. You get the leaf one, and then you get the modern mullet, which I think the modern mullet may be my favorite. They do get this cute little like Sweet Pea hat. I really, really wish, did I just say Sweet Pea? I meant Sweet Pea. I also don't even know if it is a Sweet Pea, but this like little flower hat, which is super cute. I kind of wish that the kids had this. And then I did notice a glitch on toddlers, and I think infants as well, where the jelly shoes weren't showing unless you got rid of the gender tag. That actually slips through the cracks a little bit in Sims packs. I saw it in Growing Together when it came to a shirt that was basically hidden upon release. So toddlers do actually have the jelly shoes, and then they have 3 full body outfits. This one, again, with the fake wings is my favorite. I could honestly live without the other 2. I don't think any of these items are like standouts. I definitely could live without all of them, and I haven't really put any thought into like what I would actually want for like toddlers and infants. I mean, infants hairs, that's what I want, because we're still stuck with all the base game infant hairs. There has been no pack as of yet, apart from Growing Together, which is basically also when infants were introduced, that have included any infant hairs, and I don't really understand the choice behind that. I do maybe feel like they wouldn't have a modern mullet, but give them something. I think that's a knock-on effect of kids not really being individual anymore, not really having any like kid hairstyles, and them just having like miniaturized adult hairstyles, which I don't mind, but like at least give them some individuality, especially for those younger Sims. And again, they have 2 full body outfits and a pair of shoes along with the hat. The tattoos for children, stickers, whatever you want to call them, I like to think that this is the flower press gone wrong, are under a new category known as body paint, which is available under the body category for kids specifically. You have full versions, and then you have ones that look like they are starting to peel, and you can also play with the opacity. I'm excited to see what they do with this category in the future. This is a weird one for me to have to even give my opinion on, because if you're buying this pack, if you're putting like money into this pack, then it's probably either because you want like the natural living element, which I don't know, I personally wouldn't purchase it for that. We've already been doing rags to riches for like so many years. This sits in the same vein as Dream Home Decorator for me, in which if you had the imagination, you had the tools to be able to do this already. Now you just kind of have like the scripted thing helping you out with it, and in my opinion, that isn't what would drive me towards to get this pack. If that is why you're picking up this pack, I don't think the Create Sim is going to be for you. There's a couple of pieces that feel a little bit like hunter-gathery, which I guess if you do Rags to Riches or a lot of maybe like challenge gameplay, like the zombie apocalypse, for example, maybe you can get away with it and kind of get some money value out of it. But personally, I don't really see it for those of you who are wanting more of the realism. I definitely think most of the value comes from the fairy stuff, and even then I feel like a lot of the fairy stuff does kind of resemble Sims 3 Create a Sim, which I was never a fan of the Sims 3 Create a Sim, but I guess I don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to that criticism, because I'm like, what else would I have done? Like, what else would I have actually wanted? Usually I have so many opinions on like missed opportunities or what I would have wanted to see, and I can't really think of anything else. So I guess they've done it. I guess they've filled the gap for fairies. I do think maybe they could have added some more like regal stuff. There is actually a trait where if 2 fairies have a baby, they have like a high fae lineage, which means that they gain fairy experience at an accelerated rate, because obviously they've gone down through this lineage and are like quite powerful fairies at that point. So maybe more regal. I know that people have been wanting to see like a royalty pack, even though that isn't up my alley. They could have perhaps leaned into that a little bit more, but I do think it's difficult when you have very 2 distinct themes. Speaking of the hunter and gatherer, if you get into the new career, there are actually 3 career unlocks, and they again fit like the hunter gatherer vibe quite a lot. They kind of give Breath of the Wild this like a bag made out of a leaf, which I like. I kind of think that is different. Maybe I would have preferred them to lean heavily on that type of stuff, but then they would have run the risk of not having like any civilian type clothing that you could walk around in, and that could make people like this Create Sim even less. So I truly really haven't formed an opinion. Do I think I'm gonna get an awful lot of use out of this Create Sim? Honestly, probably not. Hairstyles the most, I think, but even then, a lot of them feel similar to what we already have. I wish that they found a way to like cut down on the volume of curly hair sometimes. It definitely feels similar to the hairstyle that we got in Island Living, which, to be fair, isn't a critique that I have had a lot throughout this creator sim. Usually I'm sat here like, this looks similar to that asset, this looks similar to that pack, this vibe feels like that. So this is definitely unique, in my personal opinion. But the wings are definitely the best done thing. I can see that that's where a lot of love and time and energy has gone into this creator sim. One negative I do have about this creator sim though, it definitely doesn't feel as strong as most recent creator sims that we've had, and I feel like kits play a really big role in this because kits are very, very good at making masculine tag stuff look really good on feminine sims and feminine tag stuff really good on masculine sims, whereas this really fell flat, especially for the feminine tag stuff on masculine sims. It really distorted the chest. It made like the collarbone stick out like loads. It didn't really feel like they tried to really make those look good, minus the items that you can wear on both frames anyway. The hoodie is an exception. The hoodie is hoodieing, but I would love to know what you lot think. Do you think this is diabolical? Do you actually think this is really, really fun? Is it making your flutter? I would love to hear your thoughts, opinions down in the comments down below. Is there anything you think is missing severely from Creator Sim? Another style that you maybe would have liked to see more? Or do you think they actually did a really good job of treading that line between the kind of 50-50 split elements of this pack? Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will speak to you all tomorrow for my gameplay overview. And oh boy, I think it's gonna be a chunky one.